Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the take for Market Rebellion on this hump day, this Wednesday, where we're seeing a little bit of pressure on the markets. Before we get into that too much, let's talk about yesterday. Yesterday, reaction to earnings outside of Walmart, and the markets were off to the races. They were moving pretty good. As a matter of fact, again, the final 90 minutes really told the story, however, added 250 points to the Dow in that last 90 minutes. Finished up 430 points. NASDAQ about the same. It was 150 more points in that final 90 minutes. Finished up 320 points. Big day for the NASDAQ. Nice big rally, a rebound kind of a day. And you look at the S&P, same sort of story. 38 points. It's a lot of S&P points in the final 90 minutes. Finished up 80 points on that as well. Crude traded anywhere between 112 and 115. Kind of pulled back, finished up the day right around 112. You had the 10-year just underneath 3, and we've got the volatility index in a fairly tight range yesterday, 25.5 to just a little bit over 27. We actually finished the day right around 26 for the VIX. Now, the VXN, we're still watching that one. We haven't given up on that one, but we are seeing it just kind of hold down in those middle 30s is where we find ourselves with the volatility index for the NASDAQ, that VXN. Volumes yesterday, a little bit lighter. 37 million contracts. That was pretty surprising given the kind of day that we had and a lot of different catalysts that are out there. But nonetheless, the volumes definitely pulled about 5 million off of what has been the average for the year and so far this month of May. So that was something that I think did stand out. One of the lower prints that we've seen in a while. Every sector was up 1% or more, except for staples, which were down 1% yesterday. Gives you a little bit of an idea of the broad participation yesterday that we had. Started off with technology. It was a bumpy, but a positive bumpy ride for tech. It was up nearly 3% yesterday. The big boys really pushing this one along. It was Apple and Amazon and Tesla and Facebook all having really nice, solid days. Materials as well, up nearly 3%, with Nucor and Cleveland Cliffs and Freeport McMoran, and throw in a little U.S. Steel. All of those having a pretty solid day. Financials also up nearly 3%. Goldman Sachs, the real biggie has been Citi. A lot of people talking about Buffett and some of the positioning that he's made over the last, or at least released over the last few days. Citi being one of those names, but it wasn't just Citi. It was JP Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. Across the board, we had a really nice performance there. Consumer discretion. All you got to do is look at Tesla and Amazon for that. Really gives you a little peek at what was going on there as well. So we talked about Paramount yesterday, another Buffett name. That was one of the names that was a definite mover yesterday, along with many in the semiconductor area. AMD, I look at KLAC 10 Core. I also look over and I see Lam Research and Marvell and NVIDIA, all those names having a pretty solid day, along with Boeing. Throw in not just Boeing, but let's add a little bit of the airlines. Delta, United, American, all had a really positive day yesterday. Cisco, Intel, Nike, all very strong. Caterpillar, Honeywell, across the board. A lot of different areas where we're seeing some strength. There was weakness. We talked about Walmart. That was the one black eye yesterday in terms of what was going on in the markets, but definitely we're able to shake that off. Target was pulled down a little bit with that, along with Costco, but Dollar Tree, Dollar General. So across the board, you see a lot of different little folks in retail that were definitely some of the names that were getting pulled to the downside. McDonald's has had some ups and downs, a little bit more downs, it seems like, of late. This morning, it was Target. Didn't make a guy like me happy. Been long Target for well over 5 years. It's been since Brian Cornell took over. They've been doing a magnificent job. This quarter, they had a very big struggle. And a lot of that struggle was with transportation, a lot of it with freight, a lot of different areas of the categories in which they were selling. All of that just comes to a head. The margins were down, very, very disappointing. And when you get that disappointing in something, they are going to hammer you. And they are absolutely hammering Target today. Down significantly. Last I looked, down somewhere close to a 25% level. That's been pulling on the market, certainly. And then you look early on, you look at the Dow, down under about 300 points. We opened around the same, down about 200 for the NASDAQ, opened about the same. Pre-markets down about 45 for the S&P, down about the same. And as we progress through the day, things just get a little bit worse and a little bit worse. We were down 400, then 450, then 500, 555. We were off of that a little bit right before I came on here, but significant push to the downside as it's pulling not just from Target, but a lot of different other areas now participating in this push to the downside. I looked over at the NASDAQ. It was down a little over 200 and some odd points. And as a matter of fact, you can erase yesterday's S&P. S&P was down about 80 points last I looked. We are looking at the price of crude. That's been holding up. It's been holding above that 110, but 112 to 113 today is where we find ourselves. And once again, in crude, it was up there at 114 early on. 10-year right underneath 3. And then I look over, and don't look past this one as well, because we talk about energy all the time. I think it's really important to also bring up not just crude. Take a look at nat gas. A lot of people have taken their eye off the ball. It's near 8.5 now. So just keep an eye on that one as well as you're trying to traverse the markets and all of this. And obviously, a lot of that plays into what the problems are for Target as well. We talked about freight. We talked about transportation costs. A lot of those different factors that come into play. 27.5, that's where we find ourselves on the VIX. Consumer discretion, down about 3.5% early, and that's about where we've been. Staples actually starting to accelerate a little bit. That was down. I'll tell you what, everything was in the red early, and we did have a few improvements, but not much. Most everything just continued to cascade a little bit more down to the downside. As a matter of fact, take a look at Target, take a look at Walmart, and we've shaved off, I think I just read in an article, about $65 billion in market cap over the last 24 hours or so. So gives you a little bit of an idea of the hit that we are seeing in some of those retailers right now. TJX, not one of those. Ross Stores, not one of those. They seem to be doing much, much better. You look at their numbers and you try to compare them, and you can understand why you're seeing TJX with a pretty nice boost to the upside today, along with Caterpillar. Some of those Chinese names were in positive territory, but the overwhelming focus is into the red today. It's Target, it's Costco, it's Walmart, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Tractor Supply. You could just take your pick. JB Hunt, we talked about transportation. Well, there you got it right there, along with freight. Exy, Lulu. Then you take a look over at something like Nike, along with Lulu, Okta, Walgreens. Walgreens, we had some paper yesterday. That option paper looked pretty good, but that's getting pulled down today as well. We're seeing even a little bit more speculative upside for maybe a bounce in there, but we're not going to be focused on that. We also had CrowdStrike getting hit. I got two unusuals for you, and then we'll get out of here. I got a firm. There's the one positive that I've got for unusuals today. Now, this is why. This is a name that probably has taken its medicine. The stock back in November was $164. Now take a look at a firm today. It was trading right around $26. We had a buyer of 5,500 of the May 28 calls. So a fairly short period of time looking for a firm to make a little bit of a bounce off of this lower end. And it certainly has pushed towards that very far lower end of the 52-week range of what we are seeing for a firm, which I just mentioned, November. It's 164. Here it is, trading 26. Gives you a little bit of an idea the punishment some of these names have taken. I do have one where they're buying a little bit of puts as well, and what sticks with retail. It made sense to at least highlight this one as well. Kohl's. Now, Kohl's trading around 43.40. They did own the Kohl's 45 puts. Those have been very, very good performers. They're selling those, but want to stay within this trade. So what are they doing? They're buying 4,000 of the May 27th expiring 42.5 puts. Those are going for about $3, a little over $3. That one's pretty interesting because it's somebody who wants to stay with a short position in Kohl's for a little while longer, week and a half, call it, little while longer. They want to stay in there, but they're taking some profits off the table. We always like to see what we consider to be smarter traders doing something like this, but they still want to be represented. That's exactly what we're seeing here in Kohl's. Very interesting trade, guys. A lot of pressure on the markets today. Everybody knows that. Tough day with Target, and then obviously pulling down some of the rest of the retail. Be smart, be disciplined. That's the best advice that I can give you. Very difficult market to navigate. We know the ups and downs. Keep an eye on that volatility index. Keep a special eye on the VXN for the volatility of the NASDAQ as well. Folks, have a great day of trading.